Hey, it's Steve with Ad Machines, and today I'm going to take you behind the scenes of a typical management model for the plumbing demand campaign. And really, what I want to focus on are all of the elements that I can control as a pay-per-click manager. All of the things that I have an influence over in my setup and my management and the adjustments that I make day to day on an account. And when I put together a campaign, I like to be strategic in my approach and how I spend my client's budget so that they're getting the maximum efficiency out of what we're doing, right? And if you're familiar with Google, maybe you have a love-hate relationship with Google, and Google can be one of those things where it can really scale your business. I've had 50 home service clients that have been acquired in the last 3 years, and a lot of that had to do with how we managed their Google Ads campaigns. Um, it can make or break your business, right? So, and you also don't want to be completely dependent on Google. You want to treat it as a lead source, but it could be the largest source of customer acquisition, right? So I'm going to touch upon some of the management elements in this section and talk to you about how we devise a strategy. We're going way beyond keywords, way beyond ads and landing pages. Um, this is what we would call a programmatic um, approach to account management, right? So first things first, there's no secret as to the keywords you would have in your portfolio for this campaign. Plumbing demand, right? Emergency plumbing, plumbing near me, plumber near me, plumbing service, plumbing repair. But each keyword has its own um, nuance within Google. There's been a lot of changes with match type. Um, Google has really taken away some of the control elements that you used to have to really make traffic um, as relevant as possible. You used to be able to really dial in the type of traffic that you want. Google now serves up what's called semantic traffic, right? So if I'm a customer and I'm searching for Bob's Plumbing and he's located in Boston, your ad may appear for plumbing service. Even though it said Bob's Plumbing, that's what the homeowner typed in. Your ad could appear for plumbing service if that's not set up correctly. They'll click on your ad, and that plumbing service keyword is probably right around between $40 and $50 in Boston every time somebody clicks on it. So, um, they say defenses win Super Bowls. So for every keyword I have, every keyword I want to drive traffic for, I want to have a large amount of negative keywords, because even if you're generating uh, traffic and things are working well, there's always room for improvement. Always. You're always going to have terms that need to be removed from your campaign. So let's talk about that a little bit here. Rule of thumb, in this particular campaign, we come to the table with probably I'd say about 1,000 negative keywords for every keyword that we're bidding on. Um, and I'm just giving you examples of, different categories. Like, for example, Bob's Plumbing. If I'm going to avoid that click for $40, $50, I'm going to have a negative keyword, Bob's Plumbing, on that campaign, so my ad will not appear. So I'm controlling when the ad appears, for what term. Vehicles, we see this a little bit in plumbing, mostly in HVAC, like Toyota AC repair. We block vehicle names, makes, models, parts. That's an extensive list. Um, you have other plumbers out there searching for parts, maybe a handyman. They're typing in technical terms on Google, and that will trigger an expensive keyword. So we want to make sure that we're blocking, um, a large portfolio of parts. Competitors, you could probably go a couple hundred deep in the local competitors in your area to make sure that you're blocking that traffic. I mean, you probably have had conversations with a pay-per-click manager in the past. Well, yeah, you want that traffic because you can convert that into a client, an opportunity. I mean, you really don't want that traffic. You're just wasting your CSR's time. Um, 90% of those types of calls don't convert anyway. It's a tough sale. If somebody's looking for somebody specific, you have a very low probability of converting, and the math just doesn't make sense. It's not on your side, so we want to block that traffic. If you don't do commercial plumbing, you got to block that. I have some clients that love doing work on mobile homes and whatnot, and but we have a whole category of recreation vehicles. And we have like a marketing category, like plumbing leads or plumbing pictures, picture of a toilet, stuff like that really can drive up the cost. And the best way to get this information is you can just ask for a search terms report. And the search terms report within Google gives you an entire listing of all of the terms that you've paid for. And you can quickly see how fast things add up that don't make sense for your business, right? So you want to think of all the different categories, and once you look at that report, you'll know right away, how to approach it, right? So keywords is just a basic fundamental part of Google Ads. Now we get into audiences. One of the things that I like to do, I'll ask my client for a client list for those clients who have invested a certain dollar amount or above. I'll ask the client, like, hey, what's a good average ticket? Maybe it's $1,200, $1,500, and then I'll go back to them and say, hey, look, why don't you put together a customer list of all those customers who've purchased from you in the last 3 to 5 years over $1,500. And what the next thing I do is I take that list and I feed it into Google's customer match engine. And Google, it takes a few days. Google will, take that list and it will pair it up with a general customer avatar. So all of those customers that you've done business with, there's overlaps with income and age and interests, things of that nature. And Google has its own magic that happens in the background in how they formulate a customer list that looks like your customer list. So what I do next, and this is pretty effective. The audience targeting has gone way better with Google than it has been in the past. It seemed like Facebook, Instagram has been the leader, and Google's right there. It's starting to really shape up. So when I spend budget, I want to spend more money on the audiences, the premium audience that has delivered the highest amount of value, and that works out really well. At the same time, I'll ask the client for a list of those customers who have purchased from them $100 or below, and that's usually just people who have paid a dispatch fee or a service call fee, and they didn't move forward with an estimate. So I'll do the same thing. I'll put that list into Google, and we will not exclude, but we'll spend less to target that audience. So we come up with the equation on the value of the list. All right. So the house list is always the best list. And then Google has its own database of match types of different audiences that you can target in your market, people based on age. So, naturally, people aged 18 to about 30, maybe 25, 18 to 25 for sure. I would say about 95% of those people that age probably don't own a home, so they're not your customer, right? So you can exclude that group from ever seeing your ads. Perhaps your best customers are over 40 years old. You can serve your ads exclusively to that audience, or we can program Google to say, hey, Google, spend more on people at this age, at this income level, people who have just signed on for a refinance with their mortgage, people who have just moved into the market. So we can create all these different lists, and take it a step further, we can actually create specific campaigns. So now your ad copy speaks to the list. So if I'm targeting a new homeowner, welcome to the neighborhood. Call our friendly plumbing service. We've been in business for 20 years, and if you're a first-time homeowner, get a free service call or something like that. So you can create an ad based on the audience type. So audiences and segmentation of your database is one of the smartest things that you can do in budget management. Next is revenue by zip code, right? So either revenue by zip code or maybe average ticket by zip code. Historically, if you've been in business for a while, you're going to see that certain areas perform better for whatever reason than other areas over time. You don't want to look at a month or 3 months. We're looking at 3 years, 5 years of data, and that's where you start to make decisions. So in this example, 02148 has generated almost double the amount of revenue compared to the next available zip code. So I want to spend more in that zip code than I do in all the other zip codes. So, there's an old saying, protect your backyard, right? So, and you can do that. You could protect your revenue by location. We don't have to spend evenly. There's no point in spending evenly. If there's a zip code that you have low conversion for whatever reason, don't advertise in it. Pull it out. Put more money in the areas where you have had success. And the best way to do that within Google is just coming up with a zip code bidding strategy and spending more in the areas where you want to target, and you could spend less in other areas. So completely customizable. You're in control. Next, we'll set up an integration with Google Ads and Google Business, and that pulls in your location data, and that gives us the ability to run map pack ads. Map pack ads are great for demand. They perform really well, and that's something you definitely want to do. I would say the biggest strategy that we will implement on this campaign is a device bidding strategy. There's no secret here. More people take their phone with them to the source of the problem to conduct their research. They're not experiencing a pipe leak and then jumping on their computer and booting it up. They're going right to their phone. They're conducting that search. So we want to spend the budget where the captive audience is searching from, right? So it makes absolutely no sense to spend 50% on desktop, 50% on mobile, and flip a coin. We know that if we shift the budget to a mobile device, we're going to get a much better result from a revenue perspective. We may pay more per lead, but the revenue production is much higher, right? So a device strategy. We have a timing strategy. I use timing on pretty much every campaign. I like to create ads based on time of day. I like to, um, you know, day part ads. We have different rush hours that we know, uh, where there's demand in different markets. We're able to read on that. Mondays, for example, probably the busiest day that we see. Typically, not first thing in the morning. Everybody's looking for that first call, but it starts to pick up right around 9:30, 10 o'clock Eastern, um, to about 1 o'clock, and stops for a little bit, and then picks back up right around 3:30, 4 o'clock to about dinner time. So implementing an advertising strategy um, is one of those things where you can capture leads when the demand is the highest. In that way, when there's, and Google's all about supply and demand. It's a real-time auction, right? So you're competing against those other people that are advertising. When you can get in there and capture traffic when there's more demand than supply, you're going to pay a lot less than what you would when times are slow, right? So, and finally, smart budget management. There's some things that Google does now that I'm not a big fan of. If you have a limited budget, your ads will be throttled. So if you don't see your ads, it's probably because you're spreading yourself too thin. You're trying to do too much with the budget. So I like to take a budget, and I want that budget to support a full business cycle, right? I want that if you're open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I want enough budget to cover those hours. And what happens is if I can cover the entire business day, I will pick up leads at different times. And towards the end of the day, I'm starting to get much better efficiency because the competition is falling out. They're booking up. They've exhausted their budget. So everything averages out when I can support a full business day. If you only have enough budget to run 8 a.m. to noon, those are typically when the leads are the most expensive. And you don't get the benefit of getting the less expensive leads because there's less competition in the afternoon. And that's when you start to see your lead costs come up and down, up and down. So you don't want to spread yourself too thin. You want to maximize your budget so you can support a full business day. To avoid throttling, you don't want Google to start and stop your ads when they see fit. You want to be in complete control when your ads appear. If you have a limited budget, Google will try to, show your ad throughout the course of the day, but, you may not be capturing the demand pockets. You definitely want your budget focused on mobile, and we want strong mobile positioning. So not only do we want to be on mobile, but we want to be in a strong position. First, second position does very well in this campaign. So that gives you an idea of what you can control and our approach to a campaign strategy, right? May seem like overkill, but the details matter. We're not slapping together campaigns here at Ad Machines. We're putting a lot of thought into it. We're being strategic. The details matter, especially when it comes to your bottom line. So, keep that in mind when you start to put together a campaign, and think about all of the smart things that you can do to improve your performance, because that's what it's all about.